Pickup Lines is presented by Gamez Law Firm. Personal injury guidance for more than 50 years. Gamez Law fights. By Integrity Roofing and Siding. Family owned and operated for more than 40 years, serving the San Antonio area for roofing, siding, and renovation needs. And by the Sabinal Group. For nearly 20 years, serving the San Antonio region through professional minority general contracting services. Pickup Lines is broadcast from inside the all-electric Lexus RZ450e, courtesy of North Park Lexus at Dominion and North Park Lexus of San Antonio.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome in once again. It's breakfast time with Pickup Lines, the talk show in a car, and we are rocking and rolling here on a Wednesday morning in the medical center here. As a matter of fact, in every direction, there's a medical facility. God forbid something were to happen to me, Juan, during the show.
But it's a good place to be.
It's a great place to be. You've been here a long time, as a matter of fact. Let me officially welcome in our guest here. This is Oanh Maroney-Omitade, who is the newly crowned, newly minted Senior Vice President of Organizational Excellence at Methodist Healthcare Ministries, a title you just were promoted to recently.
Yes, back in November. In 2021, I moved over to start the Organizational Excellence Department, so I've been a vice president in the organization for a while, but then senior vice president as of November.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's just get the name out of the way right away, because it's a lovely name. You spell it O-A-N-H.
That's right.
What part of the world does that come from? Or does that name mean? You pronounce it Juan.
Yes.
What does that mean? Where does it come from?
So, Ernie, I always say there are other people in the world with this name. They just don't look like me. So I'm half Vietnamese. And so my parents gave us all Asian names. I also say, because I'm the middle child, I got the hardest of the names because my sister's names are phonetic. They sound like they look.
Right.
Mine doesn't. And then in a place like South Texas where there are a lot of Juans, it creates a lot of confusion. So over the years here at MHM, because we have had Juans that work here, they just affectionately call me Oanh Maroney. So they've always called me like by a first and last name, like it's a whole name.
I love it. Oanh Maroney-Omitade.
Yes.
I think it's fantastic. And so thank you for explaining that.
Yes.
I'm learning something new here today. You've been here quite literally since the turn of the century, since 2000.
Yes.
Which is a long time, but I'm finding out that people tend to stay here at Methodist Healthcare Ministries. What do you remember about the circumstances surrounding you getting this job here and your first few days here at Methodist Healthcare Ministries?
I can still remember my first day like it was yesterday.
Right.
So the building you're looking at now didn't look like that. It looked like a large house, and we had a double wide trailer in the back that was where the HR office was. And then I officed out of a little storefront over on East Houston Street on the east side.
Wow.
And my office in the back didn't even have windows. I was in between a O'Reilly Auto Parts and a Blockbuster Video. And so that's where I started my tenure here as Parenting Programs Manager.
Kids, ask your parents what a Blockbuster Video is. They'll be able to tell you, because they'll be like, what is it?
That's right. They wouldn't even know what a VCR or a VHS is.
That's pretty remarkable. Classic example of a building I've driven by many, many times here in the medical center and just did not realize Methodist Healthcare Ministries is right here. Let's get the explainer out here, because I wonder, certainly the case for me, we know about Methodist Healthcare or the hospitals. Methodist Healthcare Ministries has been around for a while. How do you explain the connection, what separates the two things, and how are you connected to the hospitals and those things?
Okay, so Methodist Healthcare Ministries, we actually are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We turned 30 in January. And we are the half owner of the Methodist Healthcare System.
Okay.
So we co-own that healthcare system with HCA. They're our 50% partner.
Okay.
And so we then take the profits and revenues that we earn from that ownership of that healthcare system and reinvest them back in the community. So we are a nonprofit.
Right.
And we have a variety of services that we offer. We do direct services. We have medical, dental, and behavioral health services that we provide for low-income, uninsured individuals. And then we have a variety of community-based programs that we do, parenting programs, recreation and enrichment. We have a faith-based nursing program called Wesley Nurse. We also do grant making. And then we have a team that is actively involved in policy and advocacy. We have registered lobbyists that go to Austin during the session and are working even when we're not in session to advocate for systems and policy change that affects the the traditionally marginalized and disenfranchised community that we serve.
You have a lot on your plate. And how many stories have we heard of people in our community who have terrible medical issues or will not seek medical care because they cannot afford it, they could never afford it, or don't have the kind of coverage? And that's, like you said, where you guys can help potentially.
And even when you have insurance, it's not always affordable.
Correct.
Sometimes deductibles are high, premiums are high, copays are high. So yes, we do provide primary care, but we also have a network of specialists that we provide specialty care, that we use to provide specialty care for our patients.
Very good. All right. So I should mention this episode is really in partnership with our friends at Dream Week San Antonio. I had Shakari in the car with me right in January when we had Dream Week. And you were a speaker, or you spoke at one of the panels?
This year, MHM has been a sponsor for several years.
Yes.
And so I've had the privilege this year and last year of introducing the keynote speaker at the breakfast, at the awards luncheon.
Very cool. Yeah. And congrats to Shakari and the crew here. That I got to do a couple of things. I emceed the opening breakfast this year. And just a beautiful, as you know, whole thing.
Yes. It's a wonderful array of opportunities for the community to come together around different things. So if you like food, there's something. If you like art, there's something. If you want to have an intellectual panel conversation, there's something for that too.
Yeah.
And I believe and we believe that change happens because we have opportunities to sit and have dialogue and hear different perspectives and come up with solutions for the things that ail our communities. And so I think that is one of the things I love most about Dream Week is it's an opportunity for folks from across the community, from whatever sector, whatever cultural group, to come together and learn and have dialogue.
I love it. So Shakari, the team reached out to me and said, you got to talk to Juan. And I said, I'm on it. And so here we are. Where did you grow up?
I grew up on the east side of San Antonio.
You did?
I did.
Okay, because you went to college in California, right? You went to Stanford.
I did.
Where did you go to high school?
Sam Houston High School, the pride of the East Side.
What kind of high school student were you? Were they the Hurricanes?
I'm a Cherokee.
Okay, well I'm not here to out you on your age or anything, I know that once upon a time they were the Cherokees, and then
my three sisters and I graduated. My two sisters and I, three of us, they graduated from Sam Houston.
Okay.
And my younger sister is the last class of Cherokees.
Okay. What memories do you have about your high school days and just Sam Houston and that time?
Well, my freshman year, we still had two buildings, so you had to cross the street.
Okay.
The one side was freshman and sophomore, and the other side was junior, senior. But you cross the street for different classes. But by the time I graduated, I think probably my junior, maybe even my sophomore year, we were all in one building. So by the time I graduated, we were in one building. You asked me what kind of student. I was a nerd. So,
those are the ones that turn out really well, by the way. They end up really smart.
Yeah, nerdy.
I was a nerd too, to a certain extent. So
yes, and the teachers and students all knew my dad very well.
Okay.
They recognized the white station wagon, and so if there was a problem at school, Johnny was going to be there. So if it was one of the few times I might have gotten in trouble for something, Johnny was going to be there. If it was, I remember one year, my older sister, they didn't have access to the textbooks for one of the classes. So Johnny went to the school to talk to make sure that the kids in that class had access to the textbooks. So even after we started to drive our cars to school, if he had to come up there for something, and the kids knew, like if they saw the white station wagon, something was going down. So sometimes they'd say, hey, we saw your dad, your car's here. And sometimes I would know because he was coming to drop something off for me. But there was always your dad is here, something's going down kind of thing. But he advocated for us, but he advocated for all of the students. And that's one thing I did appreciate about my dad.
Super cool. So he was very active and I'm just visualizing, again, this is pre-social media and everything, when you had to actually pass a note or verbally explain to somebody that your dad was on campus or something happened.
Or if you had to call, you had to go to the office, or you had to go to a payphone.
Exactly. Again, children, ask your parents.
Yes, what is a payphone?
At the quarter, get some quarters out here and...
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
They messed everybody up when they went to 35 cents, because then you had to have a quarter.
Then you had a dime. Exactly. Yeah. My gosh. Those were the days. But then you transitioned, and you went to Stanford.
I did, and the other thing I didn't, relative to my high school experience, my sisters and I are first generation college students. So I'm a graduate of the Upward Bound program at St. Mary's. So I graduated from Sam Houston High School and from the Upward Bound program at St. Mary's, and it was our director there, Dr. Jacqueline Dansby, that is part of my journey to getting to Stanford.
And didn't you get a degree at UTSA as well?
I have a master's degree from UTSA and then a second master's degree from Texas A&M Law School.
Just diplomas everywhere in your office.
No, they're not in my office. They're at home.
Certificates and diplomas and award. And we're going to show something here in just a little bit as well, because you have another one here. Mm-hmm. When you left to go to California, was that a little crazy or culture shock or?
It was some of all of that. So my first memory of getting to California, my dad, we flew together, and he took me to campus. You didn't take the station wagon. We didn't take the station wagon. All right. And so when we got to the dorm room, and it was an older building, and I walked in the dorm room and I asked the RA, I was like, where's the air conditioner? And he walked over and he literally picked the window up. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to survive here, because I grew up in Texas.
Yes.
Right? Like, who opens the window? But over time, I came to learn that, in the Bay Area, it gets cool enough at night that you just crack the window when you had your air conditioning there.
For what it's worth, I went to Texas A&M for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, obviously in College Station. No AC in that dorm. And that was College Station.
Like, that's a different experience.
That's a different 4 showers a day, as I used to say. But that's enough. This show is not about me and my college life, but I just thought, like,
the commonality of no air conditioning.
No AC in college is, I get you there. Oh my gosh. So when you got here in 2000, by the way, this is Oanh Maroney-Omitade. You are the Senior Vice President of Organizational Excellence at Methodist Healthcare Ministries. In your wildest dreams in 2000, did you think in 2025 you'd still be here?
I did not. I remember very vividly thinking to myself, I'll probably stay for a couple of years. In my first leadership position, I had just a few months before finished my first master's degree. And so I was like, I'll stay for a few years, get my feet wet, get a little bit of experience, and move on to something else. And then before I knew it, it was a 5-year pen, a 10-year pen.
Yeah.
Then it was, 15, 20, and now 25 years.
So you did 25. Did you already get that, or is that coming this year?
I officially finished my 25th year April 3rd. So, but we're there,
you must get like a giant brooch or something, right? It's gotta be a big.
You probably would make that if I put all my little pins together, and then we have the little banners, so they're there in my office.
That's fantastic.
But it's been a journey. I also, I started right around. I would say 12, but we've already talked about my college years.
Yeah, right.
But yes,
She was very young.
Very young.
There might have been child labor involved here, nonetheless. What is it though about this place that keeps you coming back every year, 5 years?
The work is hard, no doubt. Our charge is vast. So we serve 74 counties in Texas.
Wow,
so
a lot of real estate.
Yes, it's a lot of real estate, and it's very diverse and different real estate. Rural areas, metropolitan areas. And when I started, we had less than 100 employees. And so we just had a new hire orientation this week, and I think we're up to about 560.
Right.
So just having the opportunity to help to grow the organization, while I myself was growing as a professional. So I've grown up here, but I've had an opportunity to help grow the organization and to see how we've evolved over the years, and same mission, but looked at how do we change our work to have a greater impact on our community. And it's our community, it's ours, because we live here. We live everywhere we serve. So even where we have team members, like some of our Wesley nurses and our community counselors and our promotoras, we have team members that live out in parts of the service area where they work.
Yeah, fascinating stuff here. A few more minutes with Oanh Maroney-Omitade here. You talked about education, the multiple degrees and everything. Were you always exposed to education in your house early on, or what was it that convinced you to get multiple degrees at multiple institutions and just keep climbing higher and higher?
Well, neither of my parents graduated from high school or college. My dad, grew up East Texas, and they worked the farms, and he was drafted and went to the military. And my mom is a Vietnamese immigrant, and so I grew up in a home with a mother whose first language wasn't English. But they always told us, you're going to go to college. So after my dad got out of the military, he started a furniture upholstery business.
Okay.
And so he trained my mom on how to do that. So they were entrepreneurs, and their shop was in our backyard.
Wow.
Which is also, by the way, in the backyard where I learned how to drive a car. We had a big backyard.
Oh, nice.
But that was their business. And my dad would always say, you're all going to go to college. I want you to get a job where you can work kind of inside. Like, I don't want you to have to work as hard as we had to work. Because it'd be hot in the summertime.
Manual labor, like physical stuff.
And he'd always say, I want you to go to college so that you don't have to work, this hard.
Got it.
And so from the time we were little, they had instilled in us, like, you're going to go to college. And that's where, starting with that foundation, when I went to Upward Bound program, Dr. Dansby and the structure of that program helped me to navigate my way and figure out all the things that I needed to do to get there.
Fantastic. Are your parents still around?
I lost my dad in 2022, but my mom is still here, and she lives in the house where we grew up.
Still there?
Still there.
God bless them.
With the big backyard where you can still drive.
The big backyard where we can have driving lessons and
we all learned how to, my mom and all of my sisters and my brother, we all learned how to drive in the backyard.
Did you drive the white station wagon?
I did. And the white Chevrolet pickup truck.
They don't make the cars like they used to.
Yeah, so you could drive in a big 1972 Eastwood Estate station wagon, you drive anything.
Was it a standard or automatic?
It was automatic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very good.
It was big, and it was made out of metal.
Oh, yeah.
It was a real car. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fascinating stuff. So we talked about you've won awards. You're a decorated leader. You've done so many great things. You brought one here with us. So let's go ahead and show this here, and it's sizable.
Yes, because I had it mounted. So this is part of my two-part story.
Let me help you here. I love it.
About community. So I received this my senior year at Stanford. It's the Dean's Award for Service, the James W. Lyon Dean's Award for Service. And during my time at Stanford, part of my effort to repay how others had supported me was I spent my 4 years working at the Upward Bound program there. I started off as a volunteer tutor. I spent my academic year doing tutor coordinating and other things. And then in the summer, I was an RA when the kids would come on campus and stay. And so I had an opportunity to really reach back and support kids who were like me, first generation, low income, in many ways, marginalized or written off.
Right.
And so I spent my 4 years at Stanford doing that and got that award. And the other part of my story around community and village is I mentioned that I went to Texas A&M Law School. That was during the pandemic. So as if I didn't have enough going on, I decided let me go back to school and do something. And so when came time to graduate in May 2022, it was going to be a trifecta weekend for me. I was going to graduate, and it was going to be my 50th birthday, and it was Mother's Day. So I had all of those things happening on that Saturday and Sunday. And my colleagues here had planned this little kind of surprise gathering for me leading up to that to celebrate my birthday and my graduation from the A&M Law School.
Right.
And so they gifted me this ring guard for my Aggie ring.
Oh, with the diamonds on it around the Aggie ring.
And so as it turns out, I lost my dad on graduation day.
Oh, no.
So it was like a high point of my life and like the lowest point.
Oh.
But I share that because this... And then the ring wrap reminded me of just the importance of having a village. And, part of a village is you reach back and you bring others along. And then having a village, part of that is times the village embraces you and props you up and lifts you up when you can't stand on your own. I tried to practice this, but that was kind of the connection is in the village, sometimes we serve and we bring others along. And then sometimes for us, the village serves in other ways that props us up when we have a hard time standing on our own. So those two things together.
In the event, every once in a while it happens. Every once in a while it happens where we get a little That is so powerful.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and my dad lived a long life. He was 93. He had done many things, and really helped me and my siblings become the people that
God
we
bless
are.
him.
So
and his military service too.
yes, he retired after 20 years.
God bless him. So I see that this is dated March 1994.
Mm-hmm. Don't I look the same?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a striking resemblance here. If you could speak to this one right here, is that almost 31 years ago, what would you tell this one?
That serving others is important, and to keep doing that. I learned that at home from my parents. Service was their ministry.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, we didn't always do formal voluntary things in the community, but if we had, they ministered to our friends, our neighbors, our church family.
Yeah.
And so that's where my heart for service was developed. And so then I went off to college, and I initially just kind of saw it as, oh, this is repayment, right? Upward Bound helped me get here, so I'll help the Upward Bound kids. But then, I think back over really the course of my life, and, service is important. And even, especially when, we have trying times, there's lots of tragedy and other things that happen, and service makes a difference. It really helps to support and foster the hope and resilience that we need, especially after times of tragedy.
Amen to that. You are a classic example of somebody I wish I had met earlier in my life, and I'm so glad that this little show of mine here in Shokari and the people at Dream Week kind of put you on my radar, because people need to know about you and what you've done and all the great things. I mean, it's a quarter century you've been here at Methodist Healthcare Ministries.
Yeah, it's kind of officially part of the historian crew now, right?
That's fine. It's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But it's such an honor to talk to you. I want people to go online, MHM. It's an easy website, to Methodist Healthcare Ministries, MHM.org. If you want to find out more about what they do here, how you can help. Because like she said, it is a nonprofit after all.
Yes, it is.
But they do so much good, and you can see the organization is a reflection of its leadership.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's what are you going to do the next 25 years now?
Something, but maybe not all 25 here. I do hope to retire. I have a daughter that's about to turn 10, so I'll be working for a little bit longer, but certainly helping her along her way and discovering who she is and finding her voice. And
10 years old. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's middle school and all that. Or no, what grade is that?
She's in fourth now, so
Fourth
we'll be
grade.
going to intermediate school next.
Okay.
But it's like, my friends are always like, she's been here before. Like, you meet some kids and you're like, yeah, they're kind of like an old soul in there, and things they say and do.
I get it.
She's been here before.
Fantastic stuff. Again, MHM.org is the website. Oanh Maroney-Omitade, the Senior Vice President of Organizational Excellence at Methodist Healthcare Ministries. Such an honor and pleasure to visit with you and just get a little insight into what makes you tick. And I knew you were impressive, but now I have a better understanding of how it came to be. So,
well, thank you, Ernie. Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you here in your car.
It's an honor to have you.
And I love learning more about your family before we went live. And
thank
you for all the great things that you're doing. I do think
I'm trying.
It's awesome to have opportunities to meet folks that you might not otherwise meet.
I'm a big believer and there are hundreds of other Oanhs in San Antonio right now that have these amazing stories, and if it's the last thing I do before I leave this earth, I'm going to find as many of them as I can, and I'm going to put them on camera, because I think these stories are very powerful, and people are looking for good, compelling, powerful stuff right now.
Yes.
So.
I agree. So, well, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.
Love it. Okay. Oh gosh, man, that's going to be a tough act to follow now. There's another episode of Pickup Lines. Again, thanks to Oanh Maroney-Omitade, everybody at Dream Week SA, everybody here at Methodist Healthcare Ministries. We'll be back again very soon. Have a fantastic Wednesday, and thanks as always for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.